Everybody. So I don't really know how to start these because usually when I start a lecture or a group call or something, I already have kind of an audience there and listening. And starting something new where you don't have a built-in audience, you don't have people that are kind of waiting to expect is kind of an odd sensation. And I've been thinking about that a lot as we were kind of going through the process of planning this. And the last time I did this, I had the same sensation, but it was a little different because I used to do my group sessions right after these. But instead, now I'm doing them right before them. So I don't really, I don't know that, okay, I have that kind of built in audience that's waiting for me to go into our private group sessions. Um, so I figured I'd just kill some time while the stream circulates around and see if we can get some viewers. But at the same time, I also, we're only on this earth so long, and we might as well just get right to it. Uh, this time of year, I think causes everybody to have some reflections on the past year, but also just how far they've come in general. And I'm no different in that. End of the year was always kind of a bittersweet time because before I started this business, I had this ritual that I would do when I would work for other businesses, either as a consultant or as an employee, and that would be that I would save up all of my vacation, all of it, and then I would take like the last 2 to 4 weeks of the year just off completely. Like I would just disappear for December, and that was it was really just a non-negotiable for me. Like before I would take a job, I would ask HR. I'd be like, this is how I take my vacation, right? I take it in one big block at the end of the year, and that's just how I like doing it. Is that going to be a problem? And a lot of times it was, and we had to negotiate, and people would give me guff about it, and I'd get transferred to a new manager or something, and they would give me a hassle over it. But at the end of the day, I was like, it's a non-negotiable. Like this is how it's my time to spend. If you want me to work for you, whether it's you're giving me 30 days off or 20 days off or 10 days off, I'm taking those days at the end of the year. And of course, there's some built-in days off. Like I work for some places that was closed the last week of the year. Like a lot of businesses, we now close the last week of the year. So a lot of times it would be like the last 3 weeks of the year. But the reality is I would have a lot of time off. And I really hated that time off as much as I enjoyed it, because what it allowed me to do is to step back from the day-to-day grind and really think about, what did I actually accomplish this year in those roles? And, when I was working for somebody else, I never felt like I really accomplished much. Like it always just felt like another year behind the grindstone, another year, making other people rich. And it never just, it never felt like I was leaving the office with a great sense of success. It was more just like finally a reprieve from the monotony of going out there and busting my ass for months and months and at a time, right? And but then I would fall into the nice long break, and I would enjoy it, and I would get to spend time with family. And over the years I realized that's really what I want out of life more than anything, is just to spend more quality time with the people I love and less time actually working. And so, as the break would progress and I would get closer and closer, always like the last couple of days, like Christmas kind of wears off, and then you have like 4 or 5 days before New Year's, and then you're back in the office. And for most of the time, it would be like the first. Sometimes people would give me a hard time. Part of the negotiation would be like, well, you can take the first week of the year off. You can't take 3 weeks off in December, but you can take the first week of the year off. So sometimes it would be the 8th, but no matter when it was always right around that time I'd be coming back, 3 days out. I'd start really just being overcome with a sense of dread. And it's not that I dreaded the work itself. It's that I dreaded that I just had this wonderful experience, and I got to do all the things I really enjoyed doing. And, I was coming from this very warm and cozy environment and just thrown right back into the machinery of corporate America. And I hated it. And I would go through this ritual every year without fail, where I would initially think, I'm too good for this job. And that would quickly be followed by, I need to find another job. And that would quickly be followed by, no one's hiring. And that would quickly be followed by, I'm not good enough for another job. No one's going to hire me. And then that would slowly be followed by, I should just get out of this business entirely, which would then be followed by me doing essentially a SWOT analysis on, what am I actually qualified to do if not this thing? And the answer, unsurprisingly, was always the same, right? It was nothing. Like, I spent my whole life teaching myself how to be a really solid marketer. There's nothing possibly that I could do better than this, because I haven't spent 15 years doing anything else. This is all I've done for 15 years is do marketing. And so I would drag myself back into the office, and what over time I realized that it wasn't so much the work that was grinding me down. What it really was the people I was working for who were grinding me down. And I came to this realization, I think I started having it kind of last year, because last year was our first full year under our own management, under our own power. And this is the second year where I don't have business partners. I'm running this business myself, and I just came to the realization that the reason why I was having such a bad time in those roles is because I didn't enjoy the people I was working for, because I didn't think they appreciated me. They gave me a hard time about taking time off that I deserved. They gave me problems at every turn, right? They denied me advancements in the career, and all of those things just weigh on you over time. And as was closing up this last quarter, I realized that, one, being a good boss is incredibly important to the success. And I don't mean just showing up and doing the work you're supposed to do as the boss. I'm saying like the leadership of the organization at the human level, like taking care of people, making sure people have what they want, is so much more important to the happiness and success of the business than the big picture stuff. And just so for an example, I used to work for a business, and every Christmas the CEO would write this very long email thanking everybody for their hard work. It was where we found out if they were going to do cost of living adjustments or any bonuses or all that stuff, right? So you get out this letter, and then you get a letter from HR with the details of whatever you earned that year. And I just didn't care. It never gave me the warm fuzzies, like they were connected or they cared about me. And now that I have my own team, and as we were approaching the end of the year, I really started thinking about, and I will say this is also my first year of having a big team. Last year, we only had one person on the team at the end of the year. We hired 9 people this year. Like we've grown significantly. And so we have a big family now. And as I was thinking about, back in October, what I wanted to do for Christmas, last year we did this kind of client Christmas party, which was fine. It wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't as well attended as I wanted. It wasn't as I don't think it really served the purpose that I was hoping it would serve, which is kind of like rally the community together. It just seemed like kind of something no one wanted. It's kind of like, when you walk into your doctor's office around the holidays and they have like a cookie tray out. And it's like, do I really want to eat cookies at the doctor's office? Probably not. It's kind of a weird, it's like a mix of business and pleasure that just doesn't work. So this year I decided to do a Christmas party for them. And as I was going through and planning, and I was telling people all the things I was going to do, they kept telling me, "Oh, that's too generous. You shouldn't do that. That's way above and beyond, right?" And I'm not buying anybody a car, right? But like, I bought every member of my team, I bought them Christmas dinner, right? Like it's a little thing, right? It was could take their family out and I'd reimburse them for the cost. We had a video game contest at our Christmas party, so I gave out cash prizes for that, right? I bought them, gifts for Christmas. It wasn't like huge stuff, but it was the kind of things that, as I was thinking back to those years prior, would mean a whole lot to me if I had gotten any of those things, right? Like if my boss had bought me anything, to a gift card to Applebee's, anything, I would have been, over the moon. And occasionally I did have bosses that did that. I mean, thinking back in my history, and I'll call them out by name because I think they're absolutely deserving of it. And this is in no particular order in terms of, who's a good boss or who's a bad boss. But Lucy Gerasi, she was my boss at St. John's University. She's probably one of the best human beings I've ever met, let alone bosses. She's now with another educational firm, but she was always very compassionate. I hated telling her that I was quitting. It sucked when I told her because she was such a good boss, and she was the kind of person that would buy you Christmas gifts. And I think she did give us a gift card to like Applebee's. She would take us out for dinner, like the whole team out for dinner and stuff. So she was awesome. And then I had two guys that I worked for at a financial services firm, Mike Garrity and Paul Zampatella. And they were both great. I didn't get to know Mike as long as Paul because Mike left the firm to start a firm with his brother doing, I think, Medicare or something like that. But he was just a really, they were both really, they appreciated that I was here there to help, and that I was going to need some things, and I had some opinions on how things should be run, and they stuck with me. They defended me when things were getting threatened to get cut, and they had my back throughout their entire time. And then shortly after, Mike left. I think my second year there, and then Paul left. And right after Paul left, I left the firm too. Probably within, I want to say it's like 6 months or something. Because my new boss there was terrible. And I couldn't stand them. I could no longer stand for working for people that I despised so greatly. And they were the opposite of that, right? They were the kind of people that you would not hear even a season's greetings from. They just didn't care. They didn't care about you as a person. All they cared about was the output. And so the reality was, over the years, I really had some people to look up to say, this is how a business should be run from the human element. And I also had people say, well, this is absolutely not how a business should be run with the human element. And so, one of the things that really stuck out to me as I started thinking about, what is my resolution when it comes to leading a team for this year. And I think it's to be more transparent about the things I am doing for them and the things that I am providing my employees, because I think that it is a lot more than other people are doing, but I don't think it's undeserved. I think that the reality is most employers out there are treating their employees like commodities, and that's the reason they're having a hard time recruiting. And I get it, the economy sucks, and you don't want to raise prices on consumers, and if you can't raise prices on consumers, then you can't pay people more, and if you can't pay people more, then you can't attract the best talent. But I'm telling you, all of those things considered, little courtesies go such a long way. One of the things I want to do with this platform that I'm planning on building, and hey, Grayson, I see you in the chat there. Nice to see you, buddy. Went to high school with Grayson. One of the things that I really want to use is I want to highlight some of not just the work we do internally, but some of the people that I think are really helping people that maybe don't want to be entrepreneurs yet. Maybe they're not ready to take that jump, but maybe they are ready to move into a role where they don't have to be afraid of their boss anymore. They don't have to be scared about losing their job. And that gentleman, one of the gentlemen I want to bring on, his name is Jason. He runs a business called Jason Trains, where he teaches people how to become unfireable in their 9-to-5 jobs. And the idea there is that if you're working for someone who treats you like a commodity, well, then you need a defense. You need a defensive plan because they don't have the warm fuzzies for you. I think if you're a business owner and that doesn't worry you, that someone is out there teaching your employees how to be defensive, how to operate against your best interest as a company while still maintaining their role, keeping them on the payroll, that to me shows there's a problem out there. Like there is just a catastrophic level of pain in the marketplace where employees do not feel respected. They feel commoditized. They don't feel like, well, why do you think people are changing jobs so quickly? Right? If people loved where they worked, if they felt like, that company was providing them a solid living and good working conditions, people wouldn't have a 6 to 9 month job cycle where they're just job hopping until they find the next best thing. So one of the things, resolution one, let's say, is be more transparent about what I am doing to encourage employees, because I think it's not big things, it's little things. I'm not buying anybody a car. I'm not doing Oprah style giveaways, but I do give them unlimited PTO. I give them unlimited sick days. I don't track their work hours. Like, all those things might sound crazy, but I track productivity and performance. I know what each of my team members needs to produce to keep us on track, to keep our clients happy. If they can do that in the 10 hours that I'm sleeping, or they can do that in the first 4 hours a day, and they want to take the rest of the day off, I'm fine with that. I'm not trying to build an army of stormtroopers where everybody has to be lockstep doing the exact same thing at the exact same time, and I need total accountability. And if your tie is out of place, I'm going to come down on you. It's unnecessary. It's unnecessary for a modern business to run like that. What you really should be doing is looking for, like, well, listen, if I can't pay people more, if I can't compete in that, well, how can I compete with heart? And it goes back to something I tell clients all the time, which is your most powerful weapon in the marketing game is empathy. And the reason is because it's a rare commodity. There aren't a lot of people out there with empathy at all. They just don't. It's not a thing that people have in big supply. Part of that's because it's been abused over the years. Part of it is because the world is dominated by nameless, faceless corporations that are never truly empathetic, right? Like, the BP oil spill. For those of you who were alive then, I know that was like probably 20 years ago or something now, but when that happened, the thing everybody made fun of is the series of apology videos that the BP, executives made about how sorry they were that all this happened. And it came off as totally tone deaf because they were still making billions of dollars a year. It wasn't going to hurt them at all. Like it came off as someone doing a PR piece to try to get out of public scrutiny, right? And, obviously it didn't work. Everybody was furious with them, but they survived it. I believe they're still around to this day, or they might have gotten sold, something like that. But the reality is that everybody knew that empathy was fake. And so that's what we're used to in the marketplace. We're used to people not really delivering true empathy. They're delivering this hackneyed kind of pseudo empathy that we all can see right through. And so I think when you show people true empathy, first off, people notice. And second off, people want to spend more time with you because they feel like you're being authentic, you're being real with them. One of the things that for businesses that, have to lay people off, what is always shocking to me is how people will talk, oh, how this is so sad, this is, we're so disappointed to have to do this. But then the way they approach caring for those people after they're out of, after they've delivered the message is so regimented and button pushing. Like, it's just like, okay, well, we're so sorry to have to eliminate your position. Here's your, modest severance package. Here's the information to get Cobra. See you later. If I have ever had to let anybody go, I would be looking, as long as it wasn't for cause or something, I would be looking to try to place them somewhere else. And I've done that in the past. Like when we've had people that, we had to hire for a contract and then the contract went away and so we didn't need them anymore. I was always looking to be like, well, how can I make the connection for you so that you can jump to another ship, so that I'm not just leaving you stranded, having to go back out there and find your next job. Like, can I be your referral? Can I write you a letter of recommendation? Something. Uh, and if I go back to thinking about those bosses that I consider great, they all did that. When I left, it was always, the door's always open. If you need anything, reach out to me. I had reached out to Lucy years later about an idea, and I let her. She let me pick her brain. I reached out to Paul years later to get a letter of recommendation. He gladly wrote it for me. Even Mike Garrity, who was at this point, I think it had been 2 years since we'd even spoken. He still responded back and sent me a letter. So the reality is like, the things that you need to run a successful business are customers and people, and you need to treat both with a great amount of empathy, because the world is hard and you don't need to make it harder for them. And in fact, you should be making it as easy as possible, because the easier their jobs are, just in terms of getting the work you're paying for them done, the more productive they're going to be. And so if that means saying, you know what, I'm not going to count your sick days. I just trust that you're going to come in and you're going to show up on time and you're going to do the right thing, and you're not going to leave me high and dry. When you impart that trust into somebody, the natural human reaction is to return that trust in kind. And so, are you going to get bad apples? Of course you are. There's plenty of yes, we have 9 people on our team, but we fired 3 people earlier in the year for different reasons, right? For performance issues. So the reality is that you're never going to fully escape that. But what I can guarantee is that if you have good people and you want to retain them, empathy is your easiest way to do that. All right. So that was the first thing that I was thinking of this year. Now, I wrote down notes. That's what I'm looking at here. I will get better at this over time, I promise. My group sessions were a mess the first couple of times too, but now they're pretty good. They're, if you want to check us out, growhouse.org. All right. So why don't we talk about some goals for the year? Oh, Justin. Oh, Justin too. Justin wasn't a boss of mine there, but Justin is an unbelievable human being. He wrote me a nice letter recommendation too. So shout out to Justin. He's just an awesome person. So goals for the year. So first thing is fleshing out a homegrown content program. This is something that I've really been I've struggled with it in this business, which is weird for a marketing agency to say they struggle with a cornerstone of their business. But the reality is that it's kind of like the cobbler whose children have no shoes. Luckily, I'm not a cobbler, so my daughter has shoes. But Justin, you're better than okay. I mean, I'm sure you were definitely a bright spot before you left the firm. But the reality was, I always was doing work for other people. We were always creating content for other people, but we rarely had the time to do it ourselves. And so the first thing I had tried doing, and we did this pretty successfully, was I would get booked on podcasts. And I have done tons of podcasts. I can't even count the number I've done so far. But then we ran into another problem, which was, when you're going on a podcast, a lot of times podcasts will follow the same stream of questions, and what you end up doing is you get this great pile of content, but it's the same questions over and over, and so the content's kind of repetitive. And that made me kind of realize, well, this is part of the solution. It's not the whole solution. And then I also was looking at my calendar, which was a big thing, and I might show you that later because I find it kind of interesting. But the reality is, as I was looking at my calendar, and I didn't see a lot of time in there to be creative, to have just ways of generating content off the cuff, or just figuring it out. What I realized is that putting a live stream together like this is a great way for me personally to kind of brainstorm content and put content out there. And one, it sets a clear expectation in my mind, right? It's not something I can push off. You say, write a blog article or record a video, TikTok video or whatever on your to-do list, there's not really any commitment there, right? Because you can always push it off. You can always be like, I'm too busy today, I'll do it tomorrow, and then it never gets done. My hope is with something like this is that I put the time on the calendar. I have people expecting me to go live, hopefully expecting me to go live, and that's then pushing me to force myself to create the content. And it's already worked. I mean, I went and like wrote down notes about all the things I wanted to talk about today, and it definitely, like, I feel like, okay, this is definitely going to work in terms of like forcing me to get some of my ideas out there. Because the other part of this that I've tried is I always get these ideas in the car of like things I want to talk about in videos, and then I get them out, I like record them, but then I don't actually like, I never go back and like shoot a video with them or anything like that. Well, this gives me that opportunity because it's just on my calendar. So my hope is that by doing, you know, these kind of fireside chats with just you and I, and doing some podcast recordings on Thursdays, because we're going to be live at this time on Tuesday and this time, same time on Thursdays. The Thursday show will really be more of an interview between myself and either a client who we've helped grow their business, or a partner in the industry who has something interesting to share, or really anyone that I feel like has a strong message for entrepreneurs, or just people who are looking to survive out there, to grow their business or grow their personal brand, or just grow in any way possible, right? The other reason why I wanted to do it in this format was because I had this very odd lagging indicator that didn't occur while I was doing it. I did these live streams for, I want to say, like 3 to 6 months last time. And I did them like every Wednesday. I would do this live stream, and then I'd go into group session. I would do them and do them. And then one day I stopped because I realized that a lot of my clients weren't watching the live stream. They were just going into the group session. And I had kind of built those together to be like, well, I'm going to do like a tutorial, and then I'm going to do this group Q&A. And that's how it was built. And so when they weren't showing up for the live stream, I was like, wow, I can just get rid of this. It's not really an important thing for me to do, because the audience is so small. Like, there's a couple people watching on Facebook, but it was really for them. They're not watching it, so I'll just get rid of it. Well, months later, I ran into an old friend from high school, and he brought up, he's like, hey, you were doing live streams a while ago. And I said, oh yeah, I don't really do those anymore. He's like, oh, why not? And I was like, I didn't really get, I explained the whole situation. He's like, oh, you should do them again. He's like, you're really good at them. And that's not tooting my own horn, but it's to say that there was this weird lagging indicator of people starting to give me really positive feedback that they enjoyed them, but they never actually spoke out while I was doing it, right? They never would comment on these streams. They wouldn't, send me any messages. They would just kind of, join, watch, and move on. And I was just kind of this part of their day. And then after he reached out to me, a few more people kept reaching out to me. And then over the years, people have reached out to me and said, yeah, I've been a fan of yours for a while. I've been watching your stuff for a while. You used to do live streams, didn't you? And I was like, oh yeah, I did, but I haven't really done those in a while. And, oh, you should do them again. So after enough of that feedback, I thought, well, you know what? I need this format to be able to generate some homegrown content. I'm already getting some positive feedback that people like this format. So why not? Why not take another shot at it? And so really hey, Robert, you're too nice. Robert, a former colleague of mine too. This is like a Drew's History Family Read. Oh, This Is Your Life. That's what that show on like ABC in the 60s or something. This Is Your Life. That's what this is starting to feel like. But anyway, so I really also want to be able to use this, because one of the things that clients have told me, especially people when they're about to sign up for our program, whether it be our agency services or the coaching program, is I've read every single one of your articles. I've watched all your podcast appearances. Like, when can I sign up? And I can't tell you how awesome that is to be able to not have to sell, to just have people coming in with their credit card pulled out. Like, it is awesome. It's a great feeling. If you've never experienced it, I highly recommend it. But it's also something that shows just such untapped potential. which is when I do things like this and I put myself out there, the number of people who watch it. Oh, hey Grace, I'm happy to take clients. I can take clients all day long. Send them over. I'd love to love to help your friend or whoever else you have in mind. But the reality is that the every time I go out and do something like this, it's proof in the pudding, right? It shows people that I know what I'm talking about, that do have some ideas that might grow their business, and the more I can do that, the multiplier effect I have. It's the same as social proof. So one of the stories I tell, and I probably told this on the old stream I did, but just to repeat it for those of you who don't know it. When I first launched this business, not as Grow House, this is during the Crackle years. So same business, we just rebranded after I bought the business from my partners. But during our Crackle years, the first 3 months, we really, really struggled. Struggled. And we were getting the offer right, and we were, tinkering with stuff. But we just didn't have the formula quite right. And so we were sending traffic to a landing page, and we were getting bookings, and I was buying leads, and I was having conversations. And throughout all of that, I was making the website better and better. As people started talking about things they were struggling with, I added things, I subtracted things, I restructured things. And so it was this real kind of like, it was soft clay being remolded every day on our website. And so we run up until like April or May of that year. I think it was April. And we finally got our first testimonial. I think it might have been like our first 3 testimonials. And we had like our first 3 clients. And I put them up on the page, and I was so excited. And as soon as I put them up, I was like, it's just like this. I'm excited about this, but who else is going to care? The next week, my phone blew up. We booked, I think, like 20 calls on the calendar from the same campaign. Nothing else changed. All we did was add 3 testimonials across the top of the page. And I think it was 21 calls that we booked, and we signed up 13 clients that week. And it was to date, we have never signed up that kind of volume, because now our services we started off at a pretty low price point. So 13 clients was not a lot of money. It was a good amount of money. It made me happy, but it was not like millions of dollars or anything crazy. So we've never had a month like that. And the only thing that changed was that I put those testimonials on the top of the page. And that's the power in that social proof, is that when people can see that you're not just a website, that you're a real person that helps other people, it becomes it's an insanely powerful tool to get people to cross to cross over and to build that trust with you without ever talking to you. And that's why when people come on to a phone call with me and they said, I've already watched 30 testimonials, I've watched 6 hours of your podcast appearances, I'm ready to go, tell me what we need to do to get started. Like, fantastic. So my big focus in creating this content, besides providing value and teaching you guys some, is really to provide some proof in the pudding for people who might be on the fence, who might have seen my ad on TikTok and they're like, I don't know, like, I'm not sure if I would enjoy working with this person, which is totally fair. I join coaching programs all the time just to see what they're like, and to see how good are the coaches, how good is the community, how supportive is it, how good is the information. And there's good ones and bad ones. There's 2 I participated in last year were absolutely awful. 2 I participated this year were a lot better. So each coach is going to be different. He's going to bring a different thing. But I think the thing that most of them, I will say, do or don't do, is actually kind of show their work and walk people through how they approach whatever they're teaching, right? So, like, for example, one of the people that I find really fascinating is I forgot his name. He's all over TikTok. He runs a business called, oh my gosh, what is this called? Hold on, I'm gonna find it for you, because he's really good. I wanna give the guy props, because out of all the coaching programs I've joined, I really like his. It's simple, it's expensive. It's very, I think it's like 10 grand. So I didn't pay 10 grand. I was able to work out a deal with him, but yeah, it's a very expensive program. Digital landlords. So digital landlords is run by a guy, I forget what his name is, but he's all over TikTok, and it's for pay-per-click lead gen, right? Like that's his kind of specialty. That's what he focuses on. That's what he teaches people. And it was just one of those things that I had heard about this method. I'd heard a lot about it. Wasn't really involved in it. You know, I'd done obviously I've done pay-per-click and lead gen before, but I never really did it the way he was kind of supposing to do it. I never did his model, and I bought it, and he and his team have been like unbelievable. Like I go into their Discord, their private Discord for clients, and I put in questions, and within like 5 minutes, someone answers me, and like really good advice, not just like, you know, oh yeah, go rewatch lesson one. And yet he's puts out a lot of the content he just puts out there for free. He puts out TikTok videos walking you through how to do different things. So as I was thinking about, you know, how can I build something similar but in my market, I just thought about, well, what are all the things that I normally teach people how to do in group calls that I could just teach all of you how to do? Now obviously it's going to be a little different. Like you can send me messages and ask questions and I'd be happy to answer them, but you know, I'm not really going to have you pulled up and look at your own individual stuff and be able to tear it apart, but I can at least give you kind of the knowledge of where I would start. And so that is really the other avenue that I'm thinking about here, is that we can use this as a way to generate some just trainings that I can use internally for the various scenarios that you might run into running the marketing at your business. So with all that said, I actually made it to the end of my list. I thought this was going to take me a lot longer, but it's only taken me like 36 minutes, so I might have to end early here. Let's see. Is there anything else? Oh, I will leave you with this, and then I'll tell you a little bit about some of the things well, actually, I'll save that for the end. So, for those of you who are uninitiated in terms of who I am and what Grow House is and all of this, I suppose I should have started with that, but that seemed so boring. It seemed really boring to do a biographic stream first one out of the gate. It just didn't seem like uh, the kind of thing that would be particularly interesting with people. But my name's Drew. Nice to meet you. We haven't met before. And I run a company called Grow House. I've run this company since right before the pandemic. We actually started in January of 2020. Didn't sell anything in 2020. 2021, when I was working with my partners, we scaled to six figures in roughly the first 6 months of being in business. So really from that time, you know, if you look at from the time we really started recruiting clients, when we had those testimonials, it only took us like 3 months, but it took us 6 months in total from the time we started working together. And we have built this really unique business where we've married coaching in a group format with a agency service. And so it's kind of the best of both worlds. So if you run a business and you don't have the money to spend 5 grand a month on a marketing agency, you can come here. We'll provide you all of the necessary pieces, all the things you really need. You know, a landing page or a website. You need, you know, help writing email sequences. You need help setting up a TikTok campaign or writing a TikTok ad or writing a Facebook ad for that matter. We can provide all those things at a really reasonable rate. And so if you're interested in that, if that sounds like something that would be helpful to you, I encourage you to reach out to me. In addition, we've also grown our agency side of our business significantly, and that's one of the big things I'm focused on. Is, you know, we really dialed in the coaching program. We're really happy with that. We have some amazing success stories inside of that program, and I'm really excited to continue it moving into this year. On the flip side, our agency business has grown astronomically, and we have a really unique business model that I've not seen anyone else have, which is, you know, one of the things that has been a passion of mine since I started this business was to make sure I can help businesses that I really see the passion in the owner's eyes grow. And a lot of times those passionate entrepreneurs are underfunded. They can't afford the big agency contract. And so instead, what we've opted for is an equity arrangement where I will take a small portion of your company in exchange for steeply discounted agency services. And so as you grow, we grow with you, and we can grow our engagement and provide you more and more services as you grow. But at the same time, you really have a partner for life, as opposed to just another agency who you're going to hire for 3 months and then get rid of. So the model has already proven. This is the first time I'm actually publicly talking about it, but we've already recruited, I think, 5 or 7 businesses so far. Just in Q4, we only launched it in Q4, and we're really quiet about it. And we already have, like I said, I think 5. I think we're waiting for 2 of them to sign the paperwork. So it might be 5 signed, 2 in the wings. But it's really allowed me to marry the 2 parts of the business, which is like, how can I provide not discounted services, but like fairly priced services, but also build a relationship with business owners that is more than just a transaction. That is more than just, you're going to pay me to do this, I'm going to do this, and then we're going to be done. Because one of the nice parts about a coaching business is you build really deep, at least I do. I build deep relationships with the people I work with, and I like that. And so I've been able to take that relationship element and take the agency services and put them together into that model. So if that's more your cup of tea, if you're not really into the coaching side and you really just want someone to do it for you, I encourage you to reach out. We primarily, I will say this, we primarily only work with professional service businesses, service-based businesses. We do work with home service as well, a little bit of a different program. If you're a coach or consultant or anyone in like the education, the knowledge worker space, our coaching program is going to be a way better fit, just because 1, it is lower cost, and 2, because it is actually designed. It's based on how I grew my business, which is a coaching business. So it's kind of a perfect sock and shoe fit there. So that's really I'm a terrible salesperson in forums like this. Like, I'm much better when I'm on a sales call. But the reality is this is a new thing. This is a new thing. So with all that said, that's who I am. I'll tell you more stories about my past and as the time comes. But I'll leave you with this. And this was told to me by Jason Carney at Jason Trains. He's the gentleman that created the Unfireable program I mentioned earlier. And he told me this earlier. And I said, I love this quote. I'm going to use it later. So I'm ethically stealing this from him. He said, we are all making promises but selling information. And I don't know why that stuck with me so much, but it's an interesting concept, because I think as knowledge workers, as people who have an expertise in a subject, for people who are really here to teach other people, naturally we're selling the information, but no one wants to buy the information. What they want is the promise of the better day. It's the promise that working with me, you're going to make more money. And I think that's important for anyone to remember in business, not just for knowledge workers, but for anybody, is that, when you're going and making a promise, whether it be in your ad or in a sales call or just on a client call as you're closing, and you say, yeah, I'll get that back to you today. You're making promises, and you should keep them. So with that, I think I'm gonna end this, I guess. Like I said, I'll be back on Thursday. We're going to have a interview. It's on the calendar, so hopefully we'll have an interview with my longest serving client. She's been with me since she was one of those ones that signed up in that mad rush. So she has been here since almost the beginning, and she has had an incredible run with us. We've helped her grow 2 different businesses. Very, very interesting person. And so I won't say more, because I want to make sure she's, everybody gets kind of off kilter with the holidays. I want to make sure she's still game to do it. But Thursday we'll be back with an interview with her, learning about her business and some of the things she's excited about. And then next Tuesday I'll be back with you with another missive on things I'm thinking of and things I'm working on. And if you have any ideas, if you have any questions about marketing or things you want me to cover, questions about my favorite books to read, which my wife always teases me because I don't actually read books; I listen to them. But I count it as reading. So if you have any, these are all for show. I have read most of them, but not in that format. But if you do have any questions, I welcome them. And besides that, have a good day, everybody. Welcome to the new year.